Hello, everybody. This is Justin with zZounds, and we have a special video here about our top 3 modulation pedals that we sell at zZounds. And we're going to just dive into those and talk about each of our favorites. So, guys, thanks for coming on. I got Sergio here and Nick from zZounds. How you guys doing
Happy to
today?
be here.
Howdy.
Thanks, Justin.
Doing well.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Obviously, modulation is probably near and dear to all of us just because it's just such a dense class of effects. You know what I mean? We got phasers, flangers, chorus, vibe pedals. So, you guys running a lot of modulation pedals currently yourselves?
Yes. Always have. I feel like I always will. I know some people don't like modulation that much, but honestly, I feel like modulation is what makes it fun. Guitar pedals fun.
Agreed.
I don't really, I'm not really into overdrive pedals. I know that might be sacrilege or whatever, but I prefer to collect modulation pedals. So happy to be here to talk about them today.
Love it. And Nick, I know you also are a modulation man yourself.
I'm a pedal person, so it's like if it's in a stomp box form, yes. And I think when you think of a pedal, you think about either a DS1 or you think of some wacky effect. And I think Serge is right. As cool as some overdrives can be and easy as it can be to get a cool amp overdriven tone without having to overdrive an amp in a bedroom or something like that. I think when you think of effects, at least me, I'm thinking of some sort of modulation, a really lush chorus, something that's just way out there. It just embodies everything about pedals.
Big time. Yeah, well put. Well put. It's just like the secret sauce that us guitar players get to use, all the extra colors we're working with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
So that being said, I know we have, a variety of modulation at our website, but Nick, why don't you start us off and
Of course.
dive into your top 3 that you chose?
Yeah, so for me, I'll kind of go maybe simplest to most insane. And
Love it. Love it.
really, I mean, this has got to be probably one of my favorite. I mean, really, it came out a while ago, but my favorite in the last few years for any type of modulation. I'm a huge shoegaze guy, and chorus is such a massive part of that. And so I picked Waza Dimension C from Boss,
Nice, nice.
which is just a great reissue with some modern features, but it couldn't be simpler. I mean, this is a first chorus pedal, if anything is, unless maybe you're working with one knob from like an MXR or something like that. But
for sure.
yeah, based on the 85 to 89 DC2, this is obviously the DC2W. It's just awesome. There's 4 sets of of chorus rather, and it's just kind of going from low to high. That's all you have to know. There's a switch on this from the standard DC2 to the or the DC to the DC2, the Dimension D. It's just awesome. Bucket Brigade chorus. It couldn't be simpler, and it's immediately just this amazing stereo chorus. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about it, and I love the like kind of violet purple. I don't know. It's just such a throwback, instant 80s vibes, and I couldn't be happier with it.
Love it. Love it.
And it's a Boss pedal. It'll last forever. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's the coolest. I love it. I can't say enough about it.
Hey, Nick, I got a question for you. On that Dimension C, it has the switches. Can you turn multiple ones on at a time to like mix them around, mix them up?
I've never done it. If you can, but for what it is just you're taking your modulation depth and speed and then turning them all up.
Gotcha.
So it's going from, I mean, it's really not subtle, but it's going from the most subtle to just warble. But
sure.
it is stereo, so it works really well in studio. Just it calls for an effects loop. I mean, it's gorgeous like that.
Sure does.
Mhm.
Right?
But yeah,
Love it.
that one's super simple as far as click it and you're good. This one's also very simple, but you can dive in a little bit more. And I mean, weirdly enough, having just said I'm a shoegaze guy, I also really have a thing for like outlaw country. So I had to pick the Wayland,
Yep.
the Wayland phaser from Fender. Fender effects, first of all, have been just out of the park these last few years.
For real, man. They really have those.
Unreal.
Unreal.
Totally usable. So studio quality, and just the variety is insane. I love where they're going. And then this is just the Wayland sound. And there's 3 phase settings, 2, 4, and 6 levels, which is just phasing that many times. And then there's a sweet switch, which for me, kind of going into it, like not reading the manual, plugging it in, doing it immediately, was like, oh, okay. Basically, it just finds your sweet spot in any of the multiple phase sections. So it's kind of like also could be a first phaser for a lot of people. Probably sounds great on lap steel, like it's the Wayland sound. Go listen to Wayland Jennings if you haven't. That's what this does. So I love it. You got the telly in the back, got the twang machine.
You've been working for a Wayland or something, so getting a kickback right now?
I don't know. I got bags under my eyes or something. Long night with that dude. Yeah, the final one though. This is, if we're talking desert island, and I've gotta get one modulation pedal, it's gotta be this. Wampler makes incredible effects, and their Terraform was I believe their first foray into like digital. This has a ton of settings for a modern guitar player that I definitely don't ever need to touch. It's got MIDI in out. There's pre and post settings, so you can put your modulation kind of in a loop inside this, which is so cool. Pre and post gain, and it just has a ton of modulation. I mean, it's a multi-effect, so it's just 11 custom modes. You have up to 8 presets that you can save with whatever you want on it. I mean, it's just, if I had to pick one, I mean, I think that's one of the things. It's like, it does so much well that if I only had this, and an amp, I mean, you could be playing with it for a lifetime. So Wampler really hit it out of the park with this one. Also stereo operation. I mean, it's got everything from auto wah, swells, to rotary, envelope filters, and then your choruses, your phasers, your flangers, stuff like that, with everything adjustable, and it sets back to whatever you had it before. So these, though they're a global, they work with all the effects, you can switch back. They're back to your old settings, even if it's dimed out on one of them. So it's just super useful, great for live operation. Also has tap tempo. I mean, it's kind of a cheat code for this kind of question, because it's just like, yeah, I got everything.
I was gonna say all of them.
This does everything, and it does it super well. Wampler is an awesome company.
Love to see that. Love to see an all-in-one pedal that you truly are happy with, like most of the effects. You know what I mean? Usually, you'll want to be like, this one sucks and this effect sucks, but I use it for this one.
Of course.
Or jack of all trades, multi-effect. Those
are hard to come by.
Yeah, these days it's really easy to get amazing tone, and that's a key example. Just something that does it all really, really well. High fidelity, stereo operation, and then all those versatile settings is so cool. Really cool. And I don't use nearly enough of them. So you'll get lost in it.
Now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for saying that. Did you want to mention any more about that, or any of the other 3 pedals you picked?
I think the Terraform is something you got to dive into, and for me, the big thing is those versatile settings. Using it in studio and having people come in and play guitar here for the first time and get some recording. I mean, they'll get lost in it. I have enough experience with it where I can be like, all right, you need this tone. Let's go. let's get to it. But yeah, can't say enough good things about that. And it's one of those things where you could have a symposium on the Terraform. I mean, that thing you could sit down with for a while. Wampler, really cool foray into digital effects for them.
So it's an atmosphere of tone, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah,
your Terraform and everything.
World building. I think it was built in the marketing. The Terraform world build.
Worlds of tone, everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Nick.
Of course,
Sergio. Let's go to you. I'm curious about what your take is on this with your top 3.
All right.
I feel like you have a lot of overlap historically with the modulations we've loved.
I would consider myself more of an old school, not necessarily a purist Not all of my picks are analog today, but you know, I
We
like
don't
to keep
judge.
it simple. I like to keep it simple because you know I get a multi-effects pedal, not to knock the Terraform Nick,
Sure.
but sometimes I'll just like set it to one setting, and then it will live there for eternity.
This
Right?
definitely wasn't just my chorus pedal for years.
Yeah.
I definitely used all the settings all the time.
But so I have some simple pedals, but I think that they do very well. They're similar to what I have on my board, but they get the job done. No particular order here.
Love it. Love it.
Have the Earthquaker Devices
There we go.
Aurelius.
EQD love.
Nice.
So this is kind of a vibrato chorus rotary pedal. I'm really big into good rotary sounding pedals. Used to turn a phaser up all the way to try to mimic a Leslie a little bit,
Yeah.
but this really kind of nails it in a way that it doesn't sound fake. It sounds real. It's got that kind of, it can do that. Geez, what am I thinking of? Soundgarden, like the Black Hole
Okay.
Sun thing,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it can do
Cool.
that. But no, I like to use the Leslie a lot because when I've had the opportunity to go in studios and there was a Leslie around, and then I want to replicate it live, I need something to do it. I'm not going to lug around a freaking Leslie everywhere.
Sure.
No doubt. No doubt.
So, you can get a Leslie in this little guy. Obviously, the vibrato and chorus are top notch as well, but I use this mostly for rotary right now. It does have presets. You do 6 presets. It's a digital pedal, like I said, but it sounds fantastic. So
That it does. Much love for that one.
Earthquaker Devices Aurelius.
Yeah. Great company.
Yeah, right. That one's great. We did a demo on that one in prior years as well, and I remember that was a standout. So it's a great choice, man.
It's a fun pedal, and with the 3 voices, the vibrato chorus and rotary, it kind of you got a lot to play with. And while I might just keep it in the rotary mode and use it just like that, I think a lot of people can get a variety of uses out of it.
Definitely. So what's your next pick?
Okay. Also keeping it simple and a little old school.
Yeah.
This is a JHS 3 series
Nice.
flanger. So I love flangers. And I feel like I'm in the minority when I say that, but I've just always been into flangers since the early 2000s. One of my favorite bands at the time, it's a band called Thursday. They introduced me to a flanger effect, and I was like, I gotta have one on my board. So I bought like a $45 Boss BF2, like back in the day. Still on my board right now. So this is about as close as you can get to that. The BF3 the Boss has right now is digital. So boo. But anyway, just kidding.
We're getting better.
Just kidding.
I got
but
some digital effects over here.
I know. I'm from a weird era, so it's like, sorry. Not to be like old man yelling at cloud.
Yeah. Them computers are taking over.
This it's got computers. So anyway, simple blend, rate, and intensity controls. I usually try to keep it not too fast, not too slow. I don't like the jet wash type Van Halen thing, but I like it subtle. And I like it because it adds some sparkle sometimes. Like if the other guitar player is doing something that's chuggy or low, and I want to add some twinkle to that, I
Like
can
some movement?
I can throw on a little flanger action, and it'll cut through in a way that maybe if I didn't use the flange, it'd still be heard, but I think that there's some attention being drawn to it at that point when
Totally.
Absolutely.
throw on the old trusty flanger. So I always will have one on my board.
Yeah.
And then I
know
will
what you like.
always have one of these on my board. This is an Electro Harmonics Small Stone. This is the nano version. I have an old one in the big aluminum box. Got
Sure.
it in the early 2000s, but basically, this is the same thing. One knob, one switch. I usually try to keep it pretty slow. I like a really slow movement when I have my phaser on. I like it nice and thick and, it's like chewy almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think Small Stone can be heard on Paranoid Android by Radiohead. It's really prominent in that song. And I think that that's kind of like where I fell in love with that sound. Just adding a little bit of just like a warmth and girth, if you will, to your sound. And I like just how like it when it gets to the like kind of the lower section of the wave, of the oscillation, it can kind of introduce some harmonic goodness to the lower end, and it kind of like will kind of not necessarily fart it out, but introduce like a pleasant, just jump in dynamics a little bit, and it's kind of fun.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, jump in dynamics. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my 3 picks: the Aurelius, the JHS 3 Series flanger, and the trusty Small Stone. I'm a Small Stone connoisseur. I've owned like 3 of them, and that will always be something that's on my pedal board forever.
Love it. Love it.
It's OG.
Yeah. It really
OG.
is. It really
OG.
is. Yeah, appreciate that, man. Thanks for showing us your 3.
Sure.
It's funny. A couple of things that you said during it are like direct crossovers to what I'm going to talk about. So yeah, I'll start with maybe the simplest, like kind of like you did, Nick, and go up. But I picked kind of a couple old school ones and new versions of old school pedals, and then one outlier that has been on my board for a while. Because I wanted to keep it genuine, like I don't want to just be like, I like this pedal because other people think this is the best. I want ones that have on my board, you know what I mean? So the newest one was a version that I have only just within maybe the past 2 years or so really played, but Serge was happy to get me a new version of this. This is the script, the EVH Phase 90, which is cool because it just has that multiple mode switch where you can do the old school like script version of the pedal, the more subtle one, versus the like newer, like really in your face Phase 90. And it's just a single knob. I'm just keeping it simple. So I really just always loved the EVH sound because he's one of my favorites ever since I was 9 or 10 when I first heard him. And that kind of heavy phaser through the Marshall, that like you were saying, Serge, that like really deep, intense like chew that you get on the sound. I was always fascinated by. I was like, I have no idea what that sound even is when I was a kid. So to realize it was just like a phaser pedal with one knob was such a joy, because I'm like, oh sweet, anybody can do this. So
No, I love it.
right.
I love the way EVH uses it, because he's not afraid to just use it on riffs.
Yep.
Too, you know, it's like
exactly.
I'll use it more like on arpeggios or whatever to just kind of give it a little oomph.
Yeah.
But man, he's just like, nah. We're doing full chugs into
It's already thick, go thicker.
A blasted Marshall. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, for real. So I'm running it the same way you are, Serge, too. The really slow, just really slow, so it accentuates each stage of the phase. I just really love that, especially when you're doing certain licks. There's a lot of classic, like for instance, Eddie Van Halen solos that he was doing, where it would be the phase speed would be so slow that he would be repeating the same lick, but you can hear each stage of the phase as the lick repeats, and like it really pops out some of the low notes or the high notes. So I just really always loved that effect. I mean, it's just simple. It's just a phaser. Just run it slow and just crank up like my Marshall I've got here, and I'm off to the races. So that is my first pick, the MXR EVH Phase 90.
Awesome.
Don't sleep on the original either. It's for those out there that are curious about the difference, it's just like a more apparent effect with the Phase 90. This one has the script switch to make it more subtle, like the old school ones. Everybody usually always wonders what the script one was, and that's just the best way to put it. It's like less thick. Okay, the next one, and you can see just based on how absolutely dirty this pedal is from years of playing it on my board, my next pick was very similar to yours, Nick. I got a Boss CE2 Waza. So
Oh yeah.
this is the like one of the most classic chorus sounds ever, and mine's beat to high hell because I've been abusing it. But I really loved this chorus pedal. There's something special about the multi-modes that it has, because it has 3 switch in the middle that accesses the original, like the CE1 sound, which is cool, and then there's a CE2 switch there for the chorus setting, and then the CE2 vibrato, and I'm always running it in the vibrato mode. And I think that's where this thing is. It just has this like syrupy like thing that I cannot find in any other pedal. I keep going back to it just for that vibrato mode. So this one I'm also running usually like low rate, low depth actually. Sometimes it's an always on thing for songs because I can get it subtle. But if you crank it, like you were saying, Serge, I can get that rotary effect if I'm, absolutely like diming the depth and increasing the rate real fast. It's just, this thing does it all. So I am a big sucker for this one. I just keep putting it back on my board and keep wanting to take it off, and then it just keeps coming back. So I must love it,
I got to try one out.
They're awesome, man. They're really, really awesome. I just really love the multi-mode thing. You can get other like original CE1 sounds besides the CE2 versions that I was talking about. So that is my next pick, the Boss CE2 Chorus Wazacraft. And this is awesome. I know, I freaking love this thing. My last pick is, like I said, kind of an outlier. It was an unexpected one that ended up on my board, and I have just fallen in love with this because, to give some backstory, modulation pedals were my last like class of effects that I dove pretty deep into. I usually was more into like the overdrives and maybe time-based effects, things like that. I loved time-based effects, but modulation was a little bit like later in my like teen years that I really started experimenting with those. And I really fell in love with like Univibe style pedals. I always have to have a Univibe style on my board, kind of like you were saying, Serge, with always wanting a flanger. That's my version of that. Just I have to have a Univibe. So I got the J Rocket Univerb, and this thing is wild, man. I just like, it's weird and wonderful, and I'll try to describe it, but you'd also see it's just cruddy and dirty as well from years of messing with this thing. But the J Rocket Univerb is an unusual pedal just because it has a reverb on it, like a reverb tank.
Right.
So some people were like, why does it have a reverb? Well, they kind of knew that you'd probably be running this before, like fuzzes and distortions and things like that before it. A lot of people would run it traditionally that way because you get really crazy effects that way. But reverbs would usually go last in your chain, so you're like, why would I want a reverb like at the beginning of my signal? Well, they put that effects loop in it so you can run the the reverb effect separately with it, which is really cool to like place it somewhere else in your chain. So not only that, that's fun to mess around with, but the fact that they kind of widened the range of the effect versus an original Univibe pedal. It can go slower or faster. I really liked that, as well as like an intensity control for it to adjust it, and a dwell control for the reverb, so you can kind of adjust the tail of the reverb as well, so you get some other controls. The chorus mix knob, thing's sweet. I can run it in so many different ways. I can run just the Univibe effect, just the reverb. This thing's awesome. And it just sounds good. I just really love how this thing sounds. It's just freaking juicy. Have you guys ever played this one before?
Haven't played that one. I've played other Univibes though that have, I don't know, left me wanting more. Maybe sometimes like the vibe effect can get a little bit too rhythmic and interfere with like the actual song that I'm playing or whatever. But I feel like the best Univibes don't like have that choppiness. It's like very watery, like you said. So I'm interested to hear the whole, what is it called?
The Univerb.
Univerb. Love it.
You might like this one then because they like intentionally expanded the range with kind of maybe somebody like you in mind, where it's like, I don't want to just have like it taking over my whole signal. To your point, I played a Math show last night and I ran this 100% of the set. I was just tweaking settings there, but I can put it so subtle that the sweep is so indistinguishable that it just feels like a little light, like flutter every once in a while, like a background pulse that's so slow and so ambient that it's just like this little big wave, and it's right about in the middle of my board. So I really, really love this thing. It's like it could get that subtle, but then I'm going and cranking it for like freak out stuff. But really, really, really cool pedal.
Dude, that's killer.
Yeah, it's a really fun one. So yeah, that's my pick. J Rocket Univerb, the MXR EVH Phase 90, and then the Boss Chorus CE2 Wazacraft. Those are my 3 picks. Fun stuff, guys.
Super potent board. I feel like everybody, like, it's cool to see that though we have some cool picks, like some unique picks, but there's consistently those like legacy brands that have been making stuff forever, and are setting the trend for these newer digital effects, multi effects, stuff like that, that you can get. You can get the Phase 90 stuff, like you're going after that. And to see those consistently on boards still to this day. I mean, with the 3 Series, I think that's a really cool thing JHS is doing for the kids. I feel like,
Yep,
it's like
yep.
$99
$100.
and you can have
Yeah.
whatever you want. I sent a photo to you a few weeks ago. I was playing a gig.
That's right.
The last band, the headlining band, their guitar player, his whole pedal board was white. I was like, what's going on? I go over there.
nice.
It's all 3 Series. I'm not
Nice.
the
Full
3
3 series board.
all
huh?
3 Series.
Okay.
Full 3 Series. Incredible.
Respect.
And he said the same thing, it was just like JHS is doing it right, putting it out for anybody and kind of honoring the past with these like very versatile effects.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree
So-
too.
It's awesome.
It is. I know. And there's like, I remember years ago, there was just some guy that was like, I don't know, sometimes all you need is just a bunch of Boss pedals. And I'm like, yes, like,
Why not? Yeah.
Was
Exactly.
that guy Prince?
Yeah. Prince, or like, oh God, I don't even know who else I was just thinking of. Adam Jones from Tool still is
Is he
rocking,
all
like
Boss?
mostly all Boss as well. And I'm like, hell yeah.
Dude, I have no problem with an all Boss board.
Same,
I have
same.
multiple Boss pedals on my board. And
Yes,
they've
yes,
been there
indeed.
for a very long time.
I know.
And,
Agreed.
they keep on ticking. They'll just
Keep on
Yeah,
ticking.
put it that
boutique
way.
stuff is awesome. It's super fun, and especially with pretty much anything I've played, stuff that's made by a lower amount of people is really cool, and it's valuable in its own right. But when you do get those, wow, this has been on my board for 15 years. Those got like the Boss, the EHX. We mentioned like ZVEX before in one of these
Yeah.
videos. I mean, it's just, and I think Fender's coming out of, not really nowhere, but Fender with these effects. I
Mhm.
feel like we're going to see a lot on boards in about 20 years. They're just built like tanks. So a lot of cool stuff right now. It's really cool for the younger generation to be getting into these preamps and effects and stuff. It's
Oh, yeah.
easier than ever.
Yeah.
Truly, it's a renaissance of tone, if you will. A
Oh, yeah.
renaissance.
Tonaissance? Is
A
that what you said?
tonaissance, yes. A pedal sense. Okay, guys. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming on, though, and just talking up pedals. We could probably do this all day. So I
Oh,
will,
100%.
I will,
This has been fun.
it's been so fun. Thanks a lot, Sergio. Thanks a lot, Nick. I appreciate you guys as always, and thanks for kind of lending your picks here so we could see what you've been working with
course,
modulation
thank you.
wise.
For sure.
Yeah, and guys, once again, this has been our picks for the zZounds top 3 modulation pedals. All the effects we picked are available at zZounds, so please check out our website to see if you wanted to pick some of those up. You also have payment plans, etc. So thanks again for watching, guys, and hopefully you guys are going to be rocking some modulation pedals yourself after this.